Hi, and welcome to tonight's show. I'm your host, Reier Numans, and with me here I have Frank Kroeze. Frank, could you please tell us something about yourself?
Well, I'm Frank Kroeze. I teach at the University College of Berkeley in California. I give lectures on the effect of global warming and how the global warming is portrayed in mass media. I've been doing this for around about 5-6 years, and I really enjoy my job. I enjoy teaching students about the effects of global warming and showing them that it's not as bad as everybody thinks, but we'll talk about that more in more detail later on.
You're quite the expert on the subject.
Well, I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I have done some research on it. I've written a few papers which have been published in the New Yorker about global warming. So, well, I don't want to call myself an expert, but yeah, I am an expert.
So, how do you feel about the concern most people have about global warming? Is it exaggerated, or is it a real concern we should have?
Well, the concern the people are concerned to a major extent. They're too concerned, in my opinion, especially because things like the media and other parties, like governments and producers of hybrid cars, etc., they are making it out to be a bigger problem than it actually is. So we should be concerned, but not to the actual extent that we are now.
So you're saying it's the problem is not as big as it's made out to be.
Well, it is a big problem. Of course, we have experienced many effects of it throughout this year and other years, previous years. But we shouldn't be as worried about it, because it doesn't help to be scared of the fact that we might drown if the polar ice caps melt, for instance. We should be trying to prevent things like this from happening by, for example, making new technological discoveries on how we could use green energy, water power, etc. to make we should just be concerned. We shouldn't be concerned, really. We shouldn't be scared. We should just know that there's a problem and acknowledge it and try to solve it. But we should definitely not be scared.
So you're saying that the media and government and industries are trying to make the problem look bigger, so we as the population will be good consumers, or is this just?
Well, yes, partly it's the consumers. Of course, these companies, the mass media has made it very clear that this is a big issue. We see all the sad videos of polar bears drowning because their home is melting. We've seen An Inconvenient Truth, which was used in a political campaign. We've seen all these different aspects, and also companies which make, for instance, an advertisement of a Dutch company for windmills in the sea, for a project that you can support these windmills to make the world a better place. And all these things, they make us very scared, but these are all made by the mass media to scare us, for instance, into consuming, especially what the companies do. They do this to make us good consumers. And also, for example, governments of different countries, for example, the United States, they are trying to, the population of the United States, they're trying to scare them because, well, the fact of the matter is that scared people will not try to revolt, and they'll be, they will also support political parties which try to fight against this global warming. Which is also the governments have a political advantage to scared people. People are scared of global warming.
So, do you believe the way the governments are trying to do something about global warming, and for example, the higher taxes on cars which emit higher CO2 levels, or
Yeah.
Are you saying these kinds of things are exaggerating, are more than they should be, and might be bad for the economy? Or are you saying this is a good thing, but
I
the
don't
media
really
is exaggerating everything that's happening?
I don't really understand your question. Do you mean that what the governments are trying to do against global warming is that if that is a good thing or a bad thing?
I'm trying to say is, do you think the way it's going now, is it too much, or is it not enough, or is it just
Okay.
right?
Well, of course, there could be more done, but there could definitely also be less done as it has been in the past. I believe that it's the way things are going now. It's good, but there are some slight issues. For example, the hybrid cars. New studies have shown that most hybrid cars in Holland only use their electricity. Drive on electricity 25% of the time, which of course is a very bad thing. They actually consume more fuel and are worse for the environment than regular cars. So we should try to stop focusing on that. I think that we should focus more on wind energy and trying to make cars run on water, or just engines running on water, using water as a fuel. Because, well, we have plenty of water. It may not be fresh, but we have plenty of seawater at least. And this, I think for me, this is definitely the future of the world.
So, how do you feel, saying on the subject of cars, how do you feel about the recent studies which show that cars, for example, even Hummers, are more ecological because they have a smaller global footprint, because, for example, they're produced in America and not sourced all over the world, then shipped by boat, then shipped to the States by boat. How do you feel? Do you think this is true, and we should continue buying national products to make our footprint smaller, or do you think this globalization and the hybrid cars that come out of it and that come out of Japan are a good thing and will help us with an advantage in the future?
Well, it's a good point that you're making. I didn't know about the fact that a Hummer has a larger carbon footprint, which
A
actually,
smaller carbon footprint.
yeah, a smaller carbon footprint than hybrid, exactly. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's wow, that's pretty amazing. But what you're saying, yeah, we should try to. Well, it's a difficult issue because we should try to use more to increase globalization, because it's just a good process for the world economy and for lagging countries. But for example, the fuel used by ships and the carbon footprint of these products is a lot higher. But if you were to think about if you would every product you use, if you would have to produce that in your own country, I think that would be an unrealistical idea, and it would be bad for the environment because there would be a lot more factories. For example, if you would have factories for different cars in the Netherlands, just for the Netherlands, then that would be a bad thing for the environment.
So before I summarize everything of the night, we're running out of time. I have one question about the what you said about water as a fuel. How do you want to establish this? How do you want to use water as a fuel?
Well, in my opinion, water as a fuel is the future. What you do is, well, I'm not a physicist, but I kind of know how it works. You take water molecules, H2O, and you split them to hydrogen and oxygen, and then what you can burn this hydrogen, which it's very volatile. It'll I'm not sure if you know about water hydrogen bombs. They're far more deadly than atomic bombs. They're just extremely volatile. It's a very, very dangerous substance, this hydrogen. But if you can burn it in a controlled environment, you can create a lot of thrust, which would make your car move, make just all engines make them go.
So this will be able to we can use this in the cars, the engines in cars we have now, or do you?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's incredible. But isn't this dangerous?
Well, yes,
Even
it's
though
very
it's a controlled
dangerous.
environment, isn't there a bigger danger of things exploding?
Yeah,
than the regular fuel?
The biggest danger is for instance, if you have a tank of hydrogen in your car and you get rear-ended, there is a chance, well, a very large chance that you will blow up with the 100 cars around you. It's very volatile stuff, so we have to be careful with it. But if we could make highly very very strong tanks to hold this hydrogen, or if we could make very strong structures, metal structures or titanium structures around this hydrogen, we could use it as a viable fuel. And the
So
other
it just requires more development.
yes,
That's what you're saying.
people have to start. Well, they're already very busy with it, but that just has to be produced. A tank that can hold hydrogen without any danger of it exploding.
Okay, sounds very good. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We're
Yeah.
running out of time.
Doesn't matter.
So what you're saying is basically you feel the issue of global warming is being exaggerated by mass media, and which is used to the advantage of government, politicians, and industries to make
producers,
to make us consume more,
Yes.
and to scare us into not revolting against
Yeah.
our government.
To keep us under the thumb, If we're scared, we won't revolt. We won't do
Okay,
anything
yeah.
crazy.
And you feel we shouldn't risk globalization to save fuel and to save on fuel and costs. One last question before we end. How do you feel about the future? How do you feel about the future, our future, and the future of global warming?
Well, I think the future of the world is fine. We have it in our own hands, as I said before. We should just try to be. We should be busy with making new products that would just try to decrease our global carbon footprint. But yeah, the future looks all right to me. We should just not burn as much fossil fuels and just be a little bit more careful. But we have no reason to be very scared.
Well, that sounds great. Thanks for coming here, and
Yeah, you're welcome.
we'll see you next week.